I'm going to talk about different ways in which you can manage states in React. So first, I would like to know from you guys, how many of you have worked on React already? Of course, everybody. Okay, how many of you have used Redux? Okay, most people. How about Mobx? Oh, very few people. Okay, you're going to learn like a new concept today. And context API. Nice. Okay, so this is going to be like this is the hashtag for Twitter. So if you're active on Twitter, you can just like click pictures and just share about it. If you liked it, disliked it, share everything on Twitter. Anyway, about me. My name is Trivikram Kamat, and I'm a software development engineer here in Seattle. My Twitter account is Trivikram, and GitHub is Trivikram because Trivikram was not available. So one announcement I want to make that the views expressed here are my own and does not necessarily reflect of that of my employer or the React.js Foundation. It's required. Anyway, so thanks to Amazon and AWS Mobile for hosting this React.js event, and thanks to Stephen for managing it. Some names are very easy to remember, like Michael or Tyler, but my name is very difficult. So every time I tell, people ask, okay, can you repeat it? So I have made it very easy. So in US, a certain kind of yoga is very popular, and you might be knowing it. It's called as Bikram yoga. You just add 3 in front of it, that's my name. Got it? Okay, this is the only joke about my name. I'll say hello to people streaming this on Twitch, and there are some people from future which are seeing this talk, who will be seeing it on YouTube. I'm going to, so this is for you, YouTube viewers. I'm going to live code here, and I might make some mistakes. So if I made some mistakes, please tell in the comments. Or even better, just create a pull request because I'm going to share the demo link of what I'm going to show here. Anyway, coming back to the talk. My history with React.js. So I worked with React.js 0.14x before they started using the major version and 15.x in 2016. I'm a maintainer of cons.tech, which is a Create React app. If you search for JavaScript conferences, that is the first result you will see. We just list all conference information on that. And I'm working with React.js 16.x for last 3 months. So let's go through what we are going to learn in this talk. First, we are going to learn how to manage state. Because state is some magical thing which React provides and which does most of the work for us. It made our life easy because developers can use declarative programming. They can just tell the software what to do and the program will do it for you. Awesome, right? Then we'll learn how to use Redux. Okay, what are the problems React state has and how Redux tries to solve it. Then we'll learn how to use Mobx, not context. So Mobx, we'll see what is the difference between Redux and Mobx. And then we'll see React context API. So are you ready? Yes. Are you ready? Yes. Yes, nice. If you have laptops, just open them because I'll be sharing the demo link. It is better if you download the git clone my project and do yarn start and do it along with me. It's a little better for learning. Anyway, this is our first application. What does this application do? Can somebody tell me? Yes. What does it do?
Sets the state of a lock open and closed.
Yes, let's not go into details. It just opens the lock when you click and closes the lock when you click. The UX, of course, it sets the state. So this is not a very well designed lock. Can somebody tell why? Because there is no key. Yes, there is no key. You just you just click on it, it opens. There should be some key, right? Anyway, there's a second joke. So now we are very happy with this lock. It is opening, although it's not a very well designed lock. But we are very happy with this lock. But then what happens? Requirements change. Why do requirements change? Can somebody tell me? Why do requirements change? Yep, some reason, like product managers, you can tell 100 reasons. But one thing, because in life and in software engineering, one only thing which remains constant is change. Okay, and you should be ready for it. So let's make our lives little difficult. how do we make our life difficult? So now this is a lock, and it opens and closes, and that is the owner of the person who has the content inside the lock. So when the lock is closed, owner is happy, and when lock is open, owner is unhappy. Okay. Now this is a very simple use case which I am explaining because talk is for like half an hour or 45 minutes. And I cannot go like a deep dive. So let's talk about Twitter accounts. Okay. Now in this Twitter account, you will see that my information is my Twitter account. So my information is in the left sidebar at the top, which shows the picture. And in the navigation bar on the right side also it shows the picture. These are two different components. If the picture gets uploaded at one place, it has to be updated at both the places. So there are many use cases in this world. Let's talk of the simple use case. Okay. So we will go back to live coding. So this is the GitHub link if you want to clone. So it is at React State Redux context. So I'll give like 30 seconds to a minute if you like to clone this on your machine. It is important to understand this application because we are going to change this application to use Redux, Mobx, and context, and even Undux I'll talk about. Okay, so if you have a laptop, just clone it. In the meantime, I'll just check out master branch. So in case if you have clone, it's very easy to run it. You can read the readme. So you say yarn install or npm install if you want, and that will install all the packages, and it is very fast. That's what I'm very happy about. By the way, yarn is removing the node modules. Have you heard about it? So yarn is trying to remove node modules and store it in one cache in the center. So it will become much faster. Anyway, I'll say yarn start. Okay, this is a yarn start. It will create a hot module reloaded application. Okay, so here click and open. Okay, so I hope whoever has downloaded the app. Then let's go to the next page. So we'll go through how this app works. So this is a create React app, and this has app.js. What app.js does is that, let us use the app. So as your name is? Yeah, Myron. As Myron told that we are going to use a state to store the lock information. So what I will do is I will go to new terminal, and I'll do git checkout simple lock, and I'll go through how the simple lock looks first. So how is the simple lock? So this is an app. Okay, it calls lock. Okay, this is a lock, and this has a state called locked is equal to true, and this is render. It reads the lock from state. If it is locked, it says locked, otherwise it says unlocked. If it is locked, it shows the lock emoji, otherwise it says unlock emoji. And whenever it is clicked, it calls this.set state, and it changes the lock state. Okay, it's very simple. Now we have to change it. This is how it looks. Now we have to change this to the current application. This is a good thing about hot module reloading. I just change it, and then I don't have to reload also. It's awesome. Anyway, so now what happens is that I've given the borders for lock and the face. Okay. Now the state of the lock changes, but it should update the display for the smiley. Okay, let's call it lock and smiley. That's what I've named. So the state should be preserved at container level, and that's what we do in the new app. So we see lock. So now you saw lock was a React component before. I written classes, but now I'm writing a functional component because lock does not store state anymore. So I go to app.js, and state goes to app. So we have a state here, state transferred from lock to app. What does it do? It reads the lock from the state, then it calls lock, it passes lock state, and it passes the toggle function. What toggle function tells? Toggle function is a prop which is given to lock, and app tells lock that whenever you call this function, I'm going to update the state. So lock's responsibility is to just call the function when the lock is clicked. And smiley does not change the lock, so you just pass the locked content to smiley. So if you open smiley, it just fetches locked and then area label happy sad and then locked. Okay, so now let's use Redux on this. Okay, everybody got how state works? I purposely showed how the state changes because how functions are passed now. So now let's use Redux on this. So to use Redux, what I will do is I'll move this to new file. Okay, so you can see to use Redux, and I'll move this on the left side. Okay, to use Redux, you have to first connect the component to Redux. And how do you do that? You do that by using connect. So before doing that, I'll say yarn add react redux. So this will add the two dependencies which are required for us to use Redux. Then I will go to lock. Okay, now I have to connect this component to the Redux tool. So what I will do is I'll say import connect from Redux. Okay, and I'll say connect. So React uses pure functional programming. So what this connect does is connect is going to return a function, and you are going to call that function and pass lock to it. This can also be done by using observables. It's called declaratives. Anyway, I'll come to that when we talk about Mobx. So decorators, sorry. You can use decorators, but then decorators are not stable yet. So anyway, so what connect does is that it returns a function and you pass a lock to it. So now let's see what happens. Module not found, can't resolve Redux. That is because it is React Redux. Yes. Awesome, right? Okay, there is one more. So it says map dispatch to props module not found, can't resolve. Oops. Okay, yarn Redux. And connect, is it from Redux? Yeah, so that is one disadvantage of having hot module reloading is that you will not remember, okay, because it will remind you and you will not end up wasting time building and doing stuff. So yarn start. Oh no, it is already running in a different tab. This is one good thing about create React tab. Okay, let us open this. Okay, this says connect is not exported from Redux because it is from React Redux. Okay, everything is working fine, and then it will throw error. Okay, because you have not created the store yet, and we have to also create map state to props. So first we'll create map state to props. What map state to props tells is that state to props, it's a function which gets a state and it returns the value which component wants. Okay, I need a okay, and you pass this is assigned but value is never used. You pass it here. So let's see. It is going to be more error because I am doing it one by one. So could not find store in either context props connect lock, either wrap the root component provider or explicitly pass store as a prop to connect lock. So I have to create a provider, and so we don't pass these values here anymore. Actually, I'm nervous, so I'll just take a look at the answer. So this is Redux. Okay, I have to create a reducer first. Okay, so I created map state to props. So let us create the log store. Okay. Okay. And I'm not good with React, so I'll just copy this. I'm not good with the Redux, so let's copy this and I'll just explain. So I'll just import map state to props from log store. Okay, so let's see what log store does. Okay, so log store creates the store. So I was planning to create the store. Okay, and I'm going to pass the reducer. What this reducer does is that, oh man, should I just start again? Okay, it's okay. Like I'll spend more time on Redux, Mobx. So, so you create the store, and in create the store, you pass reducer to it. Okay, what this reducer does that this reducer takes two things. One is the store, and another thing is action. Okay, action is something which you define across your components. So if there are 100 of components and there are 5-6 components you're doing one action and like 10 components doing other action, you define those action from there. So let me remove this because it's no longer required. Okay. Oh, sorry. And okay, this looks fine. Okay, I have to dispatch it from here. And from app, I have to create provider. So provider has to be created at app level. So I'll just say provider. And provider should get store. Okay, which is log store. And I'll import log store from log store. Okay, and I have to import provider from Redux. Okay, okay, so in log store, so I'm getting an error. So because I've exported log store map state to props along with log store, so it worked. But then something will not work here. So you've seen me like struggle while doing live coding. You will have seen that something I have not done yet. What is that? Huh? Yes. So if I click on this, nothing will happen because I have not dispatched the action to make the change in the state, and also I have not connected the smiley component. So what do you want to do first? Okay, make smiley, but then if I have to dispatch the action, okay, let's make smiley first. So I open smiley and I do the same thing, connect smiley, and then I'll pass map state to props, and I'll import connect from connect. Okay, so we got the smiley. Now one thing we need to do is dispatch the action to so that the state is updated. So what I'm going to do is I go to so app is very simple now. So does app need to be a React component anymore? No, it can be changed to a functional component. So I'll just say this. So app is this simple, and I go to log. I see log will be also a function component, and I go to smiley. It's also a function component, and I go to log, and I'm calling toggle here, right? I have to say it just receives, it doesn't receive anything anymore, and here I will say, oh sorry, it does receive, my mistake. It receives dispatch from the connected one, and then I'll call dispatch. So I'll type, because this is an action which I'm passing, and I'll say toggle, and I go, it's working. Okay, I'll not live code anymore in future talks, and I'll show recording. Okay, let's examine how. So Tyler told about React Developer Tools, right? So let's go to React Dev Tools, and let's examine how Redux works. So you have a provider, we gave a provider, and inside that we have connected the log, and we have connected the smiley. So I'll go to Google, imagegold.com, and I'll just search for Redux diagram. Okay, and this is a very good diagram. So let's see. I did this because in case if you forget, you can go home and just search for Redux diagram, and it's a very good diagram. So what is happening is that we are storing the state. Where are we storing the state? In log store. Okay, this is where the state is, and this is the initial state which is passed. Then we have actions. So action is passed to reducer, and the action is passed from log on click. Dispatch this action. The action has a type. So what reducer does is that it just switches over the type toggle. Okay, and then based on action, it dispatches the action, and the reducer does some magic, and it just informs the connected components. So while doing the coding, you saw that we did not connect smiley and did not update that component. So we saw how React Tools is used. Another advantage of Redux is that it is complex. Okay, you need to understand all pure functional programming, how it works. But advantage is that the dev tools are very well designed. So how do I know how to use dev tools in Redux? Search for Redux dev tools. Okay, it's that simple. Okay, so use the first one. Okay, don't use the second one. So, and it has how to install the Chrome extension. So I already installed the Chrome extension, and I'll show you how I will debug it. So I go to the log store. So before going ahead with this, does anybody have questions? Like this, like too much taken if you're not worked on Redux, but then like anything you'd like to know? Okay, so let's start debugging. So you install the Redux dev tools, and you get this nice thing which doesn't have any data yet. What we are going to do is we go to the log store, and when we create store, we pass this information which helps Redux to create this thing. Okay, so now we have initialize here. I click toggle, so it tells every state. Okay, now I'm just doing toggle. So I come across Redux Dev Tools, and then I wanted to change the demo, but then it's okay. People use counters and all. So if I want to go here, I can just jump to that state, or I can just jump to this state, or I can skip this state. So I'm here, right? So I can just go to next state, and and it has, like, you can just see what action is happening. So we only have toggle action. There may be some different actions, and there is some chart, and there is state, diff, test, and lots of things. Okay. That is the advantage of Redux. But then if you are developing it for the large project, you will have to teach the functional programming concepts, how pure functional programming works, and etc. Anyway, so coming back to the talk. Oh, I didn't do this because you copied. So if you have if you have cloned my application, you can just go to git checkout Redux and see how the code works. So I have spent 25 minutes on this already. So I'll go to Mobx next. So what are the advantages of Redux? Let's see. So connect is pure. Components will only re-render when the props change. So let's understand that. So I go to Smiley, and what I will be doing is I will be removing the connected component. Okay, and I'll just say, just comment this out so that it does not complain. Okay, now I click on this, you see that it is not updating. So there is some way in which you can see which components are updating, but anyway. So debugging is Redux Dev tools, which I showed you already, and you can also customize Redux using middleware. So what I'm going to do is I do git status and git checkout dot. So we are back to using state. Now we'll understand how to use Mobx. So to use Mobx, first thing I will do is I'll go through the presentation one by one. So first, create observables and provider. So I create a new file called logstore. Oh, it's already there. Okay, because I'll just see. Okay, logstore. Okay. Now first we are going to create observables. So just see how it works. So I'll say const logstore. Okay, first I have to say yarn add mobx create. Okay, and in logstore I'll say observables, and I'm going to pass the state, default state. Okay, and I'll import observable from Mobx. Okay, and I'll switch. Okay, I'll say yarn start. Observable is the state which is going to change. Observable is the state which is going to change. And I'm going to just export default logstore. Okay. What I'll do in app first is this is no longer required because we don't manage state anymore. Is no longer required, and similarly, since no longer required, I can just convert it to functional component. Always use functional components. They make code very good. So I have log store, and we are observing on this log store. I will go to log, and I will provide details about the log. I'll just remove this from log store. So I'll say import log store from log store, and here it won't get anymore. We'll return this, and locked will be part of log store. One more thing which we need to do. If you have worked on Mobx, can you tell me what did I forget? Huh? Observer. Yes. So I have to add observer on lock and import observer from Mobx React. Okay, and let's see what happens. You see that the lock is locked because the state is passed to it, but the person is sad because the state is not passed to it. So what we need to do? We need to add observer on smiley. So I add observer on smiley, and it doesn't receive locked anymore. It will return this data, and I'll read locked from log store. Okay, so what will, okay, I have to import observer. So import observer from Mobx React. Okay, so now we have the person smiling and the lock is locked. But one thing is pending, that is we don't have state change yet. So how do I do that? So in Mobx, I have created this lock store. I can just add the function to the lock store. Say function, I'll say lock store dot locked is equal to not lock store dot locked. Okay, and so it will work now? No, because this toggle function should be passed to lock. So I'm getting locked from lock store. I'll get toggle from lock store, and I'll pass, oh sorry, on click toggle. So let's see if it works. Yeah, it works. Okay, cool. So now we have seen Redux and we have seen Redux and Mobx. Let's see the difference between the log store. So if you see the log store here, it is pretty complicated because you create the store first, pass the reducer. Then you have a reducer where you pass state and action. Then for every action you tell action and then passes the state, and then you have map state to props and you tell each component which state the component is using. Let's see Mobx. Straightforward. What do I have? I have an observable because that stores the state. Then I have a function which edits the state. So one thing I have not done is that I have not added action here. So if that means I can write any function which will change the state. To avoid that, you just have to add configure to enforce actions. So let us do that. So I go to log store and I say that import configure from Mobx and enforce actions. So the app will run fine, but when I click on lock, it will fail, saying that strict mode is enabled. So all functions which change the state of Mobx has to be inside action. So I add an action here and import action from Mobx. It works fine. So I showed you how dev tools are used in Redux, right? So who wants to learn how dev tools are used in Mobx? So let's learn how dev tools are used in Mobx. And I taught you a trick. What was the trick? Google search Mobx dev tools. Okay, and you see that Mobx internally has DevTools support. And how do you do it? This is not the link. So yeah, this one. Mobx internally has DevTools support, and it's very easy. You do npm install or yarn add Mobx React DevTools, and you just import the DevTools and you just add the DevTools. Awesome, right? You don't even have to install a separate extension. So I import the DevTools and I just add DevTools wherever I want. So in the app which you are developing, you can add DevTools only while you're doing testing, and for production you can just not put this. Let it install, and then we'll see how we can debug the state changes using Mobx. Who thinks it will be better than Redux?
How do you maintain side effects in products?
So Mobx uses observables. So I'll answer that question when I go to the diagram, and we are going to search for Mobx diagram. Okay, so let it install. So Mobx uses is like RxJS, right? It's like RxJS. It uses observables. So there is something called, we used actions and we use observables. There is something called computed. So let's say we are developing an application which has a weather application, and in US people use Fahrenheit, and rest of the world people use Celsius. So you can store the state in Mobx that is observable, but when you change the state from C to F, the temperature values also change. but that need not be stored as a state. It can be added as a computed. So when we go through a diagram, I'll go through it. So I've added DevTools, and we will see. I'll just reload this, and okay, so just we unstart again and see if that fixes the issue. Oops. Yeah, right. Okay, let's see what I did. So I'll just spend maybe 30 seconds on this. I did say npm react Mobx. Okay, while this is happening, let me answer your question. So I want to understand how Mobx works. So I'll go to images and search for Mobx diagram, and this is the diagram, first result. So let's open this image in new tab, and let's see. Okay, so we have actions here. Okay, so first let's go to the state center. So state is observable and minimally defined, should not contain any redundant or derivable data, can be a graph, content, blah, blah. Okay, observable to-dos. So in this case, we have locked is equal to, right? Here it has to-dos to learn Mobx, and done is false. The action which we defined was toggle action. So here action events invoke any action. So for us, click invokes the action. Actions are the only thing that modify state and may have other side effects. So action may have some side effects. One thing which does not have side effects is computed values. So we are not using any computed values here, but every time state updates, we can compute some other values which our application consumes. So which can derive from the state using pure function will be updated automatically by Mobx and optimized away if not in use. And these are the reactions which observer. So we added observer for lock and smiley, right? So this is the Mobx diagram. So I go back and I'll just try one more time. If it doesn't work, you will just go through context. It will take some time to load. So in the meantime, let's see the advantages of Mobx. So much easier to understand Redux. You saw that like the number of lines of code is very less. It uses object-oriented or reactive programming principles and not pure functional programming. So it is easier for most developers in this world. Also ships with DevTools, but I wanted to show you. Okay, so let's go to DevTools. Okay, Mobx DevTools are like not as complicated Redux because Mobx came just 2 years ago. Redux has been there for like longer time. So what this does is that it tells me which components are getting updated. Okay, so now what we'll do is that we'll remove the observer on smiley. Okay, and let's see if it works. See, the smiley is not getting updated because even though it is reading the content from the log store, it is not observing the observable. So that is simple and straightforward. That is what I liked about Mobx. Let's see the second thing. So this second one tells you when you click on a component, it tells you which observables it is, like which observables are working in that, like which components it is getting from the store. So lock is getting two components. One is locked, one is toggle. And smiley will be getting only one locked because smiley does not perform any action on the state. And what does this do? Oh, this in the console, it tells what actions are happening. So see, so now there is some mistake which I have made. What is that mistake? I purposely made it. That I cannot see what the action is. That is because in the log store, I did not name this function. So now I click on this and I can see action is happening. And in the diagram, we saw that reaction affects lock and smiley because both lock and smiley are observing the locked observable. So I have just 15 more minutes remaining. So let's go to the next code. Okay, you can also use decorators to write cleaner code. So I'll just go through this because I'm very happy with using Mobx, and like I just want to show you how awesome it gets. So I've written the function here, right? I can even write this as a class. And how does decorators work? I say observable locked is equal to true, and action toggle is equal to function toggle this dot locked is equal to not this dot locked. This is how observable. So this is much more cleaner code. Like we added decorators for observable and action, we can add decorators for observers also. But then for that we need to have classes, but we're using functional components. So you'll ask the question, why didn't I use decorators then? Why did I teach you the difficult part? That is because decorators are not a standard yet. JavaScript community has been discussing decorators for last 2 years, and they don't want to like implement it till the questions are answered. So Create React app does not support decorators by default. You can make it work by rewiring the app, but I will not suggest it because the maintenance load will increase. Anyway, so what we are going to do next? I'm going to show you how to use context. So I'll do the same thing, git checkout dot. So we are back to square one. So now we'll see how context API works. So in context API, first you have to create context with default values. So I create log store. So I'll say const log context is equal to react dot create context. It is that simple. So what this is going to do, that it is going to create the context, and let me export log context because I'm going to write the store also. So here it receives an undefined value, but you can pass the value. So we'll just pass the default value here, that is true. Now I'm going to write log store. So this app which we have written and which has all the state, right? I'll just copy this, paste here, and I'll rename this to log store. Okay, so we have state, we are reading the state from the render, and then inside this I'm going to use render props API. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the store with provider. So I'll say log context dot provider, which gets a value which we'll define later. And inside this I'm just going to render the children which parent passed. Now I pass the value locked by default, right? Here I'm going to pass locked, which I get from the state. Okay. Now I copied app to log store and I created the log store. So now app doesn't need to store any state, and it won't be passing any state to the children. And since it doesn't store any state, it becomes a stateless function. Yeah. Oh. Okay. So it becomes a stateless function. Now I have created the context. I have created the store. I'll export the store. What is next thing which is remaining is to add consumers. So who are the consumers of this lock state? Lock and smiley. So I'll first go to lock, and how does this change? So this does not get anything from the parent anymore, and here it is going to take lock context and create a consumer. And lock context consumer, this is a text function. What does this function do is it passes the state so that it can be consumed inside. What did I do wrong? No, this is going to return this. Oh, sorry. Yes. Oh, no. I had done the right thing. Okay. Back to copying pasting. So context. I have a lock. So lock context. Okay. So anyway. Okay. So what happens? We have a consumer here, and consumer receives. So let us not pass toggle because we don't have toggle. So in the app, oh, why is okay? I was wondering why is that smiley smiling. So I do yarn start. So we will see the lock is locked, but the person is unhappy because we have consumer on lock, but we don't have consumer on smiley. So we'll do the same thing, and this time let's see if I can do it correctly. So it is not getting locked anymore, and it is getting lock context dot consumer. Okay, this fine. Now this is a function, so this function receives some stuff and it returns some stuff. And what does it receive? It receives locked. And what does it return? It returns this children. It worked. Okay. So now you see that the person is smiling. So what is pending? Toggle action. Awesome. I'm happy that I simplified this app so much, and all of you will be dreaming about toggling and smiling and okay. So what remaining is toggle. So this is their context. So I'll just add one more function called toggle. And what does that toggle do? It does nothing, default. But then when so this is a value which I have to pass, right? So I have to tell here that when toggle function is called, that time what do I need to do? This sort state locked, not locked. And I made some mistake again. What is the mistake? Oh yes, set state. Other developers will be so jealous of JavaScript developers because we make so many mistakes and the tools tells us. So we are having a default function for the toggle. We are passing the toggle in the provider. Should it appear? No, because the consumer is not passing toggle yet to the consumer. So I say on click is equal to toggle. Should work now? Oh, it doesn't work.
You need to say this dot string, not this dot string or not. You haven't
No.
done the toggle function yet.
Okay, let's see the answer. So, so where am I? It's a log store. Okay, so let's say log store. Oh, do you want to find the answer if you have time? Nah, it's okay. Stephen is looking at me. So yeah, so toggle this state. Okay, let's just copy the entire log store. Okay, I don't know why it's, huh? Go to log.js. So I'm passing toggle and I'm using toggle on click. So let's see the log.js here. Let's restart. If it doesn't work, I'll end the talk. If it works also, I'll end the talk. So it doesn't matter. So I have a consumer here. I'm passing log10 toggle and I'm using toggle on click. Okay. In the log store, I have a log store provider. Yeah, that's the next question. Anyway, so let's see. It doesn't work. Anyway, I won't spend much time on this. So next thing is how to do debugging in context. And what do you think I'm going to do?
Perfect setup.
React context dev tools. And here we find the problem. Problem is that you go through all of this, it will not find the tool to easily debug context because context was released with 16.3, which was released like 2 months ago. So React team is just checking whether people are actually going to use context or not. Because Mobx has been here for 2 years and Redux has been done here like forever. So their dev tools are much better. So you will ask the question. So what are the advantages of context? There is no external dependency. It is built in React. If you see Redux or Mobx, they internally will be using context at some places. If I had more time, I would have gone to the React dev tools. But anyway, and it is the basis for future APIs. So React team has been working on async rendering for last 2 years. They released Fiber with version 16. Async rendering will come with version 17, which will allow you to start rendering even if data is not available, and that internally will be using context. I might be giving talk about suspense in future React.js meetups. Anyway, so thank you for listening and having patience. My name is Trivikram. Twitter, you can find me on Twitter at Trivikram, GitHub at Trivikr. And do you know how to remember my name? Bikram Yoga 3. So slides are available on React State Redux Context on slides.com. I'll share it in the comments on React.js Meetup. Thank you.